annual Private Sector Conference on Sustainable Inclusive Business Forum was organized within the framework of supporting businesses to improve on their practices and thrive in an efficient, inclusive environment. As a continuous move to shape the discourse on effective business practices, KEPSA, through its SIB program, brought together key stakeholders from various industries within and without the borders in USIU.
One of the biggest things that we've been talking about in the last couple of years is inclusiveness in women in boardrooms and in power, in positions of power. And I think you exemplify, to a very great extent, Caroline, what you can be able to do with that, because KEPSA has really done work.
We're on the third sustainability conference, and every year it's been great work, great improvement, and just seeing a lot of the private sector join hands in this whole agenda. And I really want to say it's been a pleasure just hosting SIB as part of in KEPSA Foundation as part of the work of sustainability. Through the first and second conferences, workshops, and roundtables, we've managed to create awareness to about 2,000 businesses. And if I just mention, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We represent more than 500,000 companies in KEPSA, so we really have a lot of work to do. But we are grateful that the journey has begun.
We really cannot practice this in isolation. So it's fantastic to have all of you here and to continue to share all of the lessons around sustainable business and see how we can all change the future of Kenyan business and global impact.
As a university, sustainability is something that we talk about all the time, and we try to embrace in every aspect of our business.
Insights from players from different sectors were critical as speaker after speaker reckoned the importance of business practices that are not only responsive to dynamic environmental needs, but are holistic in nature.
There is a global agenda. The question is, what does it mean for businesses? And therefore, we talk about sustainable and inclusive business.
As you speak to us about what a sustainable business looks like and what you've done, explain to people how to unpack the businesses.
Sustainability means, yes, you make some money, which is beyond your cost, you make some profits. At the same time, you look at how you do the business. Doing the business in a way which is sustainable to the environment. So we talk about planet, and planet is about the environment. And then people. I think people means inclusive. If I become sustainable, I won't have a livelihood, I may not remain competitive. I put it to you that we have done it ourselves as a company. Not because it's government regulation, not because government is saying you must do X, Y, Z. And this is where the Y comes in from government. Civil society, government, private sector. When we talk about this, we need to do the 4 Ps here, which is the people, public, private partnerships. This is how we're going to become more and more sustainable.
Anything that we plan, inclusive, if it does not start with the bottom up, it doesn't work. And all we are doing is on the top. Make the dressing on the top and forget about the bottom. The bottom is where we need to hold hands and create them and make them happy.
The training that we do is meant to give students this foundation so that they can also go out and share their skills, share their passion for our environment, for sustainable businesses, wherever they go and in whatever industry that they get into.
There is an inclusive possibility all the way through, but it requires a lot of effort and a lot of guts.
Looking at a sustainable approach to business really helps drive our work forward.
The sustainable method is get your standards in place, become globally world-class, and therefore, for the 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you will be sustainable.
We have to focus on a circular economy. We talk about the new economy. Internet of Things, big data, robotics, 3D printing. There's a technical dimension. We also talk about the social dimension of the new economy, the sharing economy. Why should we reduce everything? You can share products, or you can also reuse materials. The sharing economy, social innovation is really important.
In line with that understanding, businesses are remodeling their operations to be inclusive and competitive. Various exhibitors were keen to showcase their products and services that are compliant to environment safeguards and whose model ought to be benchmark to upcoming businesses.
We recycle plastics, like collecting them basically from the streets, from like homesteads, and then cleaning, sorting, and then making the whole products out of it. So many of them are like happy with the idea of recycling the plastics, which is a way of conserving our environment for the current and the future generations.
LifeStraw is a high volume water filter that purifies all the water microbes or the water pathogens. We've had very positive feedback. The visitors have been overwhelming with so many questions, and most of the visitors would like to know much about the product, of which that's a plus to us as a company. And again, those who are able, they've managed to buy several pieces.
How soon can you get it here?
We have it. I have some here. You can even buy it.
As a person who's founded this company, African Natural Products, I vouch for all the young people there thinking that they don't have jobs. They actually can have a job. You can create your own job. That's the whole perspective of being young. This Inclusive Business Forum is actually supposed to make you understand that as young people who have the power, it's our time. We need to wake up and we need to stand up for what we believe is right.
For there to be a transformative shift to how businesses are run, there is a need for adoption of methodologies and business practices that are modeled to create sustenance. In order to cater for dynamic subjects under sustenance and inclusive business, different caucuses were available for those in attendance to interact with each other. From those running businesses, those already leading in the industry, to those eager to learn of ways companies are creating sustainability, all convened in what turned out to be successful workshop sessions.
There's a huge hunger for improvement, and there's so much space for improvement.
So right now we're working with the World Bank on their Climate Tech Diffusion Program, and we've identified a number of value chains in the recycling sector. We have a few pilots that we've rolled out, and we're trying to map out what are the shortfalls, where do we need investment, and we're trying to kind of paint a bigger picture of waste management in the country so we can create an entire holistic system, as Richard said.
The Business Model Canvas is a great way to get a bird's eye view of your business and to really think about each critical component. And it's a great tool for idea stage entrepreneurs. It's a great tool for later stage entrepreneurs also to really bring you back and look at the core elements, the most important components of your business. Investors also look at your operation and business model and the potential for that to scale. The next thing is they want to look at attraction. And again, Yeko was saying that, test your product in the market.
There are less investors who invest in ideas, right? Unless it's a grant, etc. Most of them invest in proven concepts. And the best way to prove your concept is either by getting customers or trying to get some sort of intellectual property. Yeah, that also counts as structure.
What are the business opportunities that still lie in the waste recycling industry, or what other opportunities aren't we seeing that you are seeing who is already entrenched in that industry?
One of the things we've been discussing with the government is how to make more business models viable through incentives for the private sector. A big one is commercialization of treated wastewater. So there are two things we're dealing with in Kenya, which is one is a shortage of potable water, and the other one is a lack of wastewater management. So I think there's lots of opportunities in there. It's a whole new source of water, and then there's also opportunities to provide wastewater as a service. Once you can go buy these plants, go put it in a building, you charge the people in the building for the service, while you also sell the treated wastewater to industries that require it. But this requires some regulatory things.
We want to create great minds. It's time that the young people started bringing something new, innovative. Show me how I can run my business better, connect better with my customers. That's my perspective.
I would want people who don't have any training, any experience. Because then you can actually groom them into a different way of thinking and working. And what we're looking for in companies now is innovation. We want people to come with new ideas and challenge us how we should change what we're doing today.
From a leadership perspective, if we're really able to say, hey, I like that idea. I wasn't even thinking about that. Where are you going with that?
From one roundtable session to another, examples of business models that are working were shared to an active audience with many identifying areas of synergy.
People met who they wanted to meet and need to meet, so I think they got that out of it.
I've just come out of a workshop on waste management, and some of the discussions have been very inspiring, and definitely I'll go back to my office with a lot more insights on what to do going forward.
I've attended now 2 workshops. The first was about biodiversity. We talk about natural capital. What does it mean? How can we have a better nature, and how can we have better development models?
I just met this Chat the Great Minds challenge, and what I really liked was the willingness of the young people to really change things, and asking the older generation, which I'm part of, to give them room, to give them support, not pushing them back, but giving the facilities to do their thing and do the things on their way.
So I attended the Business of Food workshop, and my take home so far is information and connection is very important. There's many problems and people know what their solutions are, but often it might be difficult to get the right information you need or the right network, the right person that you need to achieve a certain goal. So this kind of meeting and these conferences are very important to allow people to get to the right people, get the right information to move forward.
The key take home is one of the key areas is Kenya focuses on production of food. And once it's produced, about 40% by some estimates goes to waste. However, there is potential to process food, package food, and make it available to the people in the urban areas to eat. So just beyond production, we need to be able to process it and make sure that we reduce the losses.
I think the insights we got from one of the Inside workshop was that we need some new methodologies. The do-how and the know-how exists of how to inculcate and incubate young people into business, young people into work, and also the work ethics. And I think this is important to bring them up, give them the confidence. 50% of the war is confidence. Get them to have that confidence to be able to face up to people. Also, employers and people who are in business already to change and say, fine, look at the youngsters in a different way, allow them, empower them, and really give them a space where they can operate far better, because they have ideas which will help us in the future. And the old ways of doing things won't work anymore. Business as usual won't work. It's got to be business unusual.
The insights shared in the various in-depth caucuses sets the pace for much-needed networking between players from various industries. Participants will utilize the ideas presented by frontrunners who are already running inclusive and sustainable companies.
I noticed a lot of energy, a lot of creativity, a lot of partnerships, and people promise each other to do something more than they did before. So I'm very positive about this conference. It created a lot of energy and action.
So we really want to build from this one and come in with the new ideas, the new innovations, the new solutions, and to bring the topics further and to really define actions and create partnerships.
From a private sector perspective, we do need to take action around future-proofing our business operations, driving more values-driven work and sustainable business, and ensuring that we can really work at bridging these inequalities. And the reason why this is important is, I think, like all of us, we do want to stay in business for the next 100 years. And that, I believe, is what really drives sustainable business.
The digital economy is talked about as a new industry 4.0. I think that's the new industry that's going to take over. We are ready here. We've got bandwidth, we've got availability, we've got gadgets, we've got nothing short. We have the best of human capital. Let's put it to good use and really ensure that we put sustainable and inclusive business practices as a DNA of what we do.
As we look at investors coming into this country, we just don't want them to come and invest and create jobs. We really want them to be responsible businesses and to really look at our sustainability.
Efforts are being put in place to define parameters which will guarantee sustainable and inclusive businesses, and the future is promising for businesses that are